Good morning, all. I'm very happy to welcome you today for this fourth edition of the Innov'Day in Advance. As you know, we are progressively resuming events with physical presence, and we remain very vigilant about COVID. So that's the reason why today we have a limited audience here in the Flow in Montrouge, and all of you connected remotely in the distance. As you know, this week has been very intense in terms of innovation, as Edvance participated into the Challenge de l'innovation du nucléaire, which was really good in terms of engagement and commitment. And today we will have a really positive opportunity to exchange about innovation. So why is it important to exchange about innovation? So first of all, I would like to share with you an experiment that we did back in 2021 with the Hinkley Point C lead team in Edvance. We went through the lockdown as everybody, and we found ourselves in front of our laptops, communicating with each other using the usual tools that we use for that. It works, it's good, but we thought that there could be here an opportunity to develop something which would take us into a virtual common meeting, or virtual room for meeting all together. So that's the reason why we decided to launch a proof of concept with some clear specifications about putting in place virtual meeting solutions for us. And we developed that on the basis of the Manzalab solution, which is called TeamU. And we have had interaction with Manzalab. The solution has been developed. And we've tested it with the team, and it provided very positive result, positive feedback. And we decided to move forward this experiment and this experience in 2022. The reality of that is that it took us into the world of virtual tools and the world of Metavers, which was a very first experience for us in this perspective. So that's the reason why, partly the reason why we have chosen that for the theme of the Innov'Day today. But beyond choosing the theme for today, in fact, my takeaway from this experiment of innovation is that innovation really, I think, is the opportunity for us to propose different ways of working and new ideas for our day job. We know our day job. We are able to propose things that will improve it, that will facilitate it. So that's really one of the key levers for innovation. I think it is also our opportunity to influence and contribute to improvements and simplification. Again, we know our day job. We know how we would do that differently to make it simpler. And it's one of our key drivers in Edvance. So we should take this opportunity, really, to simplify through innovation. And I think it's also a mindset. We have the opportunity here to keep Edvance agile and adaptive through innovation. And it's, for us, the opportunity to shape the company and to shape our future. So that was my takeaway from this experience on the field and on this innovation. Now, if we look a little bit more broadly at innovation for Edvance, what does it mean, really? Most of us are already very well engaged in transformation of engineering and standardization. I think, really, innovation is a real lever for that, to support and facilitate and enable transformation and standardization. If we think, again, a little bit more broadly, innovation is an opportunity for a step aside or to think out of the box within Edvance and to think out of the box for the benefit of the broader Edvance, of the whole Edvance, bring solutions to the whole company. And that's really a way of thinking which is different. And I think innovation also fits the reality of our Edvance values, which are daring, team spirit, and trust. Why? Because if we want to be able all together to share innovations, we need to dare to do that. We need team spirit, we need to work together, and we need trust. Only trust, listening to each other and trusting each other are key for innovation, for enabling innovation. So altogether, through this experience and the broader view from Edvance on innovation, we see that innovation is really a key lever to increase our collective performance in Edvance. Now, why is this Innov'Day important? Like I said, it's the fourth edition of the Innov'Day. And as you know, the pandemic context did not foster exchanges in all areas, and including for innovation. And this materialized in a decrease of the number of innovation proposed over the past 3 years. That's just facts. So I think we need to stay focused and keep proposing innovations. That's our key motto for innovation in Edvance. So the ExCom understood that, and has taken actions to promote innovation into Edvance. But beyond the actions coming from ExCom, I think the real key is exchange and sharing ideas about innovation. That's the real lever for us to improve innovation into Edvance. So for this purpose, there is in Edvance a network with dedicated animation that I'm sure you already know about, but I will just quote here a couple of key landmarks in this animation organization. So the challenge All in Edvance happens periodically. Cominov supports the communication around innovation. We have a strong network of innovation champions within Edvance, and there are periodical workshops organized to promote innovation, to test and to develop and think about innovation. So all that is a full program and a full set of information which is completely available to you on Veol. So I would encourage you to go on Veol, find all that, and find all your way through innovation so that you can promote and push that into your organization and for you personally. Now, if we give a little bit more focus on today and our 2022 Innov'Day. This is the annual event in Edvance about innovation. And again, we're quite happy and proud to be here together for that today. What will be the purpose today, really, of this Innov'Day? First is to value commitment into innovation. Most of us, most of you, engage daily in innovation, and this deserves recognition and valuable recognition. And that's one part of the objective today. The other key objective, I think, is to share about the key development that have been done, the key innovation which have been proposed, and there is a real opportunity to put it on the table openly and share it with each of us so that we understand what is happening in Edvance and we can take, in a way, example for that or understand what has been done in those key proposals for innovation. But most of all, on top of that, it's really today an opportunity to open our minds to other areas, other themes, and other ways of thinking. That's really what is driving innovation. So our main theme today, this year, is Metaverse and the use of artificial intelligence. Why? Well, we've had the experience last year about developing a first tool for virtual meetings. It gave us the idea to go into this area. We had a feeling that that was the right area to explore this year. And on top of that, we know that each of us in our day-to-day life starts to be connected with Metaverse, connected with artificial intelligence. And there are some thoughts here that tells us that there is something to do with that in our professional area. So that's the reason why we decided today to retain this theme for the Innov'Day. So that's where we are for today. So what will be the program? The program will alternate between conferences and presentations of advanced innovation. So I must say that we have quite an exceptional lineup for the conferences. Top-of-the-art people will be with us with valuable knowledge, and they will share with us their experience about Metaverse and artificial intelligence. So we will start right after this introduction with Clement Merville. Clement Merville is CEO for Manzalab. He will tell us more about the Metaverse. What is the Metaverse is the question we will ask to Clement. Metaverse is a vast and fashionable topic. I think each of us has already heard about that in our day-to-day life. It is potentially impacting our culture more and more, but do we really know what this means? Do we really know what it is? And what could Metaverse bring to our business? That's what we will explore with Clement in a few minutes now. Next conference will be at 11, and Vincent Champin, who is the Executive Vice President, Director of Digital Performance and Information Technologies at Framatome, will be with us, together with Albert Mej. Albert Mej is Open Innovation Expert and founder of Presence. This conference will be about artificial intelligence and augmented reality. We know that this is already used in nuclear industry, mainly for operation. The question is now for us in engineering, how could this improve performance of nuclear engineering? This discussion will take place at 11, and it will be facilitated by Frédéric Aignan, who is our Edvance Vice CEO. Then the next conference will be at 1:30. We will welcome Dominique Moulon. Dominique Moulon is an art critic and curator That will be about art and technology, how virtual reality and digital practices impact on art. We have all seen virtual art on the net or on TV. We've heard about non-fungible token. This has new wording which is coming to us, in fact. What does it mean really? How does it influence on the art market? We will explore all of that, and that will be really a step aside, opening our minds to something different from engineering, art, and virtual reality. Then 3:30 will be dedicated to blockchain and data securitization. And we had initially planned for Fatih Balieri, who is CEO from Exaion, to be with us. He had to be replaced for COVID reasons and will be replaced by Vivien Sève, who is Exaion CFO. And then again, it will be about blockchain and data securitization. We've all heard about blockchain, probably more in the bank area or the commercial or funding area. But there may be some opportunity for engineering as well with that. So what will be those opportunities? How can we use that for engineering? So that will be 3:30, Vivien Sève from Exaion. So like I said, we can see that we have quite a brilliant lineup for those conferences. And all those conferences will be live, and they will take place on this very academic link where we are right now. So just put it in your calendar for the day. I think it's really worth. Then this other part of the Innovation Day, and that will alternate with those conferences, is really an amazing insight into advanced innovations. So we will have the chance to discover three key innovations for Edvance, and that will be a slot for visibility for those innovations which have been developed and carried by Edvance people. And that will be also the opportunity to spread those key innovations into Edvance and to give visibility and to encourage everybody to promote and propose innovation as well. So 3 innovations will be presented, and it's worth noting that those innovations have been finalists of the Edvance Innovation Challenge. So number 1 today will be SSER Technical Authority. That will be presented by Estelle Sauvage and Thomas Bruyère. Number 2 will be Shared Vigilance and Mental Health Prevention. That will be by Mathieu Carmentran and Evelyne Mukamana Bakunda. The third one will be Augmented Reality for Nuclear Engineering by François Robert. So all those exciting innovations will be presented live on Teams. That will be 30-minute slot and real opportunity for us to discover those finalists from the Edvance Innovation Challenge. I think you have already received the link for the connection this morning, but in any case, you will be able to find that in the archiving chat in due course. It will be available to you when you will have to connect. And finally, the day will be closed by Thierry Schall, our Edvance CEO, and Thierry will chair the Edvance Innovations Award ceremony and ultimately close this day. So that's the program for today, the targets, the ambition, and the program. Well, quite a busy day. I'm happy that you're all connected, and we will take the most of those exchanges all together for the innovation. With that, with all that in mind, I offer that we get a start. So let's crack on. And we will start with Clement Merville. I'm very pleased to welcome Clement Merville, who is Manzalab CEO, for our first conference about the Metaverse. Welcome, Clement. It's good to have you with us. Welcome to our Innov'Day. So this year, the Metaverse is the theme, like I said in the introduction. You have been developing this technology for a while now. So we would be interested to understand, how did you start with Metaverse, in fact?
Thank you, Jean-François. I must say I'm very pleased to start this day with you. Exciting, busy, but exciting day. Because not only have we worked together on the Metaverse using TeamU, but it all started with EDF, the R&D of EDF. So I'm the president and founder of Manzalab, which I created in 2010. And in 2014, I met this R&D team in EDF, and we decided to create a POC for training in nuclear plants using virtual reality. And that's the beginning of TeamU.
Good, okay. So more generally, how would you define the metaverse?
Well, that's a really good question, because everyone here has heard about metaverse, but I believe that everyone has a very different meaning in mind. So let's start with the basics. The metaverse, when you go to the roots, in Greek, meta means beyond or overall, and verse stands for universe. Okay. So it's a meta-universe. It means it's, by definition, a universe that should be over all universe, real and virtual. Okay.
Good, so practically speaking, is it complex to access the metaverse? For example, do we need a laptop, an Oculus, or there is a number of equipment that we see on the internet? Do we need all that? Is it easy? Is it complex? Could you tell us a bit more about that? How does it work?
Well, that's a really, really crucial point you're raising, because the metaverse is now a buzzword thanks to Mark Zuckerberg, thanks to Facebook, which is now called Meta. And we have to understand the meaning of this media offensive, the media attack of Zuckerberg. First, it all started in 2012 when the writer of Ready Player One, I don't know if you've seen the movie from Spielberg, yeah? Ready Player One writer went and visited Mark Zuckerberg and the creator, the founder of Oculus headset. And he confronted his vision of the metaverse. By the way, the word metaverse was invented in 1993 in a sci-fi novel called Snow Crash, in French, Le Samouraï virtuel, and great book by Neil Stephenson, and he's the one who created the word. But then in 2012, that was this vision of Ready Player One. And it was such a strong vision that Zuckerberg immediately purchased Oculus a couple years after for the ridiculous amount of money of $2 billion for a startup that had never come up with a ready product yet. And so this vision is a broad audience vision, is a social network vision with a lot of commercial, advertising intents behind. Hopefully, there are other visions, and that's what I think we should more talk about. And in the Zuckerberg vision, obviously, he pushes a lot the virtual reality headsets. Why? Because he purchased the main company for $2 billion. But we don't need necessarily these headsets.
So it means that we can go with laptops for that?
Exactly, exactly. What I call flat screens,
Flat screens, yeah.
PC, Mac, tablets. Yeah. Okay.
So it's science fiction coming to us in a way. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, and in some ways, Second Life was the first metaverse in that sense. So, as I said, the metaverse, the main definition is a projection that will not come to life before at least 10 years. It means that you will be able to navigate freely from different virtual worlds using your same identity. Not necessarily the same avatars, but the same identity. So it means a lot of compatibility, and we know that compatibility is a long process. So in the meantime, a metaverse is simply a virtual space that is persistent, meaning that is always open, always accessible, and that you can access with your avatar and you can communicate with other avatars.
Okay, and perhaps for those who are not very familiar with Metaverse, it means that you get into a virtual world, you go through that with your avatar, and you can spend all your day or life in the Metaverse, or are there some limitations? Could we have a second life in the Metaverse? I come to work in the morning, and then in the evening I have my second life in the Metaverse. Is it possible? Is it what we think will happen?
Well, I hope it won't happen, because it's not a very joyful vision.
I agree with you, yes.
In my mind, nothing compares to the reality. I'm very happy to be sitting next to you in real life right now, knowing that we could have done all this in TeamU, in the Metaverse, and maybe next year.
Maybe next year.
But you're right. The idea with the corporate Metaverse is to create, we could say, virtual twins of the office, so you can be together with your colleagues thanks to the Metaverse, even if you work from home or in the office, you see?
Yes, and there could be different universe in terms of Metaverse. Could be one for professional use, there could be one for games, there could be one for purchasing. Do you think at some point there will be some connection between all that and make a kind of network of Metaverse?
Well, that's the overall goal of Zuckerberg. In some ways, it's the next internet, we can say. So the internet has managed to have a kind of a standard. But if we dig a little bit, we know that the internet in China is definitely not the same, and Meta doesn't have access, or Google doesn't have access to the internet in China. So I think there will be some pockets of big metaverses.
Yeah. And again, I've read in the press that we can, in some examples of Metaverse, you can purchase things in the Metaverse, you can go and buy a virtual bag or a virtual piece of art, this kind of thing. What's your view of that? How do you think it will work? Do you think it will be something will become major in our life, society, or are we still quite far away from that? Where would you locate us in the path to that?
Yes, the bag story is quite fun, because the actual Metaverse bag that is stamped by NFT, non-fungible tokens, costs even more than the real life one. So I think right now we're in a kind of a bubble, and a lot of people get very excited and spend an awful amount of money in something that is not maybe going to be in the Metaverse in the future. So don't invest in bags. That's my advice.
Okay,
yes.
Thank you for the recommendation. Thank you. Okay, okay, that's really interesting. We see that we've touched on the private life side of Metaverse, and it will bring fun and activities and in our daily life. That we can feel that, although we need to be careful with what we purchase. And by the way, I've heard that there was also some kind of spéculation immobilière, as we would say in French, virtual speculation on the real estate in the Metaverse, which is again another dimension of that.
Yeah. Don't invest either.
Voilà, okay.
Too soon.
So this building is real. We are not in the Metaverse today. I'm just clarifying for those online. Now, more seriously, I think we can see that it will bring fun in our daily life. The question is on our professional side, what we think this could bring to us. What are the perspectives of use of Metaverse in professional life? How would you see that?
First, we have to come down to the main interest of going in the Metaverse. The main interest is being together and feeling you are together from a distance. And having said that, this is why even though my company has done great things on virtual reality, I don't talk about virtual reality anymore right now. I'm mostly talking about virtual presence. And that's a cognitive science field, the virtual presence. It means the very real feeling of presence, but in a virtual world. And to achieve that, there are 3 pillars. The first pillar is the feeling of self-presence. So that is your incarnation, that is your avatar.
Okay.
And cognitive science studies have shown that if your avatar looks like you, it will make it much easier for you to incarnate this avatar. This is why, for example, in TeamU, in our system, we have a very simple way with just a picture, a selfie. We create a 3D avatar that looks photorealistic. So that's the first pillar. The second pillar is the feeling of spatial presence. Spatial presence means that the space that is recreated around you should look as realistic or as credible as possible. For this, for our part, we work with designers, we work with architects for the proportions, the space, the materials to be as realistic as possible. A couple of times, sometimes we're doing conferences or hybrid conferences like this one in our Metavers. And because we use real images around our location, so this is real images, we sometimes our clients ask us, well, we could be in Mars, right? Mm-hmm. And it's a bit of a trouble for me because I always say, yes, we can, but it's not such a good idea because if we start to pretend we're on Mars, then the mind of all your participants will try to focus whether I can breathe, whether I can talk, and is the sound should be the same, what is the gravity here, and they won't focus at all in your conference. Okay. So we should be as realistic as possible. So this is definitely proven by the neuroscience and different from the vision from Mark Zuckerberg, And the third pillar, the most important, is the feeling of co-presence. And this means that when you see another avatar, you don't think it's a robot, you definitely know this is a person. And you recognize this person and you start talking to this person as easily as we're talking together.
Okay, it's clear. The three pillars are clear. You need to know yourself in the avatar. Don't be too optimistic or too ambitious in changing the world. Stay in something which looks real because it may have an impact on the behaviors. That's what you're saying. Okay.
Even in the behavior of your avatars, for example, I have clients also who ask me they want to be in spaces where they can fly. Again, not a good idea.
Not a good idea, yeah. And if we look at that from a company perspective, once we have all that in place, we kind of cope with your kind of requirements. How do you see this could impact on the work for a given company, for example? If we would like to organize a virtual meeting together, do you think this has some impact on the way people are working together? Does it change the way they're working together? Do you think it changed the outcome of the work? Is there anything that has been thought about on that?
Yeah, I do think that's my strong belief. In fact, following the COVID crisis, in terms of work, we are already in the life beyond, We are already life after. The work has changed forever. The remote work is now there to stay, even though not at the same level when we were confined, but it will stay. And we came to what is known as the hybrid paradox. Hybrid meaning remote versus going to the workspace. And paradox because most people want more remote work because you gain time in commute, you have more family time, etc. But at the same time, most people complain of losing the relationship between their colleagues, losing the team spirit. I heard it was one of the fourth values, so that's really important. And it is very hard to maintain team spirit using only our current tools, meaning the Visio, Teams.
Yes, I understand your point, and I think I agree with that, because connection with people and the kind of real connection is really important. So that's the truth is probably in a mix of both, in fact, really. But if we take a step ahead and we see ourselves in the metaverse world, in the company, how do you see the change that we will have to implement? I mean, in French, there's a word which is conduite du changement. It means that we need to explain it to the teams, we need to bring it to the teams and create the context for this to be successful. Are there any thoughts about that currently? Beyond just developing the tool, just how the teams and how the people in the company will take them, will receive that, and will be able to adapt to that?
Well, first, let me tell you a typical user journey in the metaverse. It starts with a normal meeting in Teams. If you are 6 people, for example, in a Teams meeting, when it's over, you say, okay, goodbye, sorry, I'm late for my next meeting.
It happens.
And you apologize, and you quit, and you teleport to another meeting. In the real life, if you are 6 people in the meeting room, you will end by having a casual chat, informal chat, with at least one of the people there. And this informal chat is maybe the most important part of your meeting. This is maybe why you were so happy to be in this meeting, because you wanted to have this chat. And this, we've lost it completely using Teams. So our solution, TeamU, will be integrated within Teams beginning of next year, meaning at any point, you can turn your Visio conference 2D meeting by clicking a button to a 3D meeting in the metaverse for everyone. And my view is that at the end of the meeting, people will turn it into a metaverse meeting and start informal chat when the meeting is over. Go on the terrace, for example, and have a more relaxed chat. And then, leaving the meeting room, they will be in the hall of the company and crossing by other people. So that's more about serendipity, the ability of finding something that you were not looking for. So bumping into people you were not planning to meet. And being very happy to spend like the coffee time machine with them.
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I see your vision here. I see that. We know that in a company there are different people. There are people who are keen for those tools, people who are not so keen for those tools. There are people who are younger, who have been natively more using those tools, people who are not so young, who are not very familiar with those tools. How do you think a company could kind of regulate that and make sure that everybody finds his way in the metaverse? Is there any view on that, or any experience, perhaps?
Well, it all comes down to accessibility, simplicity of access. So our tools are, for example, are so easy. You just click to move. You click on someone, you can chat. You get close to someone, you can talk. So it's the most intuitive way. We haven't seen anyone who could not enter the metaverse, So that's one key. And the other key, as I said, is the integration within the current tools, Teams, namely. And with that, it makes it both viral inside the company and very intuitive.
So let's explore now the kind of cohabitation of different areas in the metaverse. We can see that virtual reality could be useful for technical activities like augmented reality or 3D models, virtual 3D models, and be able to go into the 3D models. It would be useful also for meetings and perhaps for social events also in the company. How would you see those 3 legs gathering into the metaverse? Is there any difference between those 3 areas, and can we imagine a metaverse which would integrate those 3 areas for the company?
Yes, sure. Well, I think the main purpose is future of work. So it's more about the meetings and the teams meetings and the teams rooms that we can specialize. Because what I didn't say when I talked about the hybrid paradox is that it comes down to a number that is, to me, a terrifying number, is that 40% of employees, as of today, wishes to quit their job. They wish to leave, and it started in the US. You've certainly heard about the Great Resignation or the Great Quit, and they quit by millions, you know, and it starts to come to France and to Europe also. So we have to find ways to work better together and, you know, more natural communication. So Metaverse sounds like additional tech, but in fact it's getting back the human into the corporate world. And starting with this base, then it is used also for all kinds of events, for trainings. For example, Soprasteria have all their onboardings in the Metaverse. So every week they have a session. They have 2 days, full days in the Metaverse, and very scripted, with even comedians coming, games, teams, and everything. And of course, we can also integrate training using virtual reality, but that's more on a specific, you know, approach.
Okay, so what you're describing is an organization where Metaverse becomes a tool for the company, and the company builds its activity around the Metaverse, or the Metaverse becomes a tool for the company to implement a certain type of activity. In a way, there may be people staying longer in the Metaverse, or people staying not so long in the Metaverse, in the day-to-day job. How do you think this can be kind of regulated within the company?
Well, in my mind, when after you've crossed your colleague and went to the virtual coffee machine, you go and sit down, and maybe you go and sit down automatically to your virtual desk, and then it is one of your teams. You know, in Teams there are teams, and that are accessible only by certain people. Often they are project teams. They have documents attached to them. And here the idea is to specialize these teams. So every project will have its own room, project room, and with colleagues working next to each other, whether they are working from home or in the real office. And by opening a permanent channel, you don't have to look at the Metaverse at this point. You know, you can work on your documents and everything. But the other people of your team see that you're working at your desk, that you're available, and the audio channel of Teams is always open. So you find a way of recreating spontaneity. Okay. So if you receive an email, you say, oh, look, I received that. What should we do with that? You know, okay, 2 hours down to you know, sending our project. And
okay, so you say within the Metaverse, you keep those channels open so that there can be connection at any time between people or a group of people who have chosen to be able to connect.
Exactly. So you don't have to picture it as the obligation of watching a specific screen, you know. You are in it, and you have this audio communication that makes it easier for you.
Yeah, in a way it's quite a change for us potentially, because when you look at your screen of a laptop or a tablet or whatever, you are reading a document, you are looking at something. What you're describing is going beyond the screen in a way, in fact. It's entering the screen, in fact. That's what you're describing. In fact.
Yeah, well, it's still using the screen as you would, but being together with your colleagues, and having this feeling of being together.
Okay. Perhaps exploring just another part which is a bit more technical, but different companies have different requirements in terms of IT, cybersecurity, and cybersecurity is really becoming a paramount topic for all the companies now. how do you see the metaverse coping with that or adapting to that? Because there may be different requirements in different companies for a kind of standard product. How do you see that in terms of robustness against cybersecurity?
Yeah, well, that's an important question when you talk about digital information. So, TeamU, by the way, I didn't say it stands for We Meet written backward. so now you can remember TeamU, We Meet. And we used it for the FIC conference, FIC, which is the biggest in Europe cybersecurity conference. So we had plenty of tentative hacking, and it resisted very well. So right now, we work with banks, BNP, for example. We work with the army, NATO. So the cybersecurity is a topic that is very well identified and that is not an issue in itself.
Okay, very good. Thanks, Clement, for all that. I think now we have time for a few questions from the audience. I'm just looking at that. So first question, really good one. First question is, when will we have the first Innov'Day using the Metaverse? Well,
that's really a nice question. Because when you asked me to talk with you and do this today introduction, I told you we could have done it in the Metaverse. Yeah. But it was 1 month ago, so maybe a bit late to change all the organization. So I definitely hope that next year will be in the Metaverse.
Next year, okay. So let's put it in the calendar and we'll see where we are next year with Metaverse, hopefully for the Innov'Day. Another question is, when will it be possible to co-create the 3D model in the Metaverse? So just perhaps a bit of context on that. We have in Edvance teams who are working with 3D models. They create the 3D model of the power station. And I think the question is, when will we be able to get that in the Metaverse, in fact?
So that's a complicated question because all the technology that is behind, and before creating Manzalab, I was in the video games industry. And so it's all technology of video games. And video games are master in reducing the weight of 3D models, and making good effects, good visual effects with little. So a power plant using your model is huge. So it would certainly need some extensive work from an expert team to put it in the Metaverse, because right now our Metaverse solution is web only, so it needs to be really light,
Yes. Okay. Without being too technical, I think we have solutions through Navis work to export some part of the 3D model and to make it lighter for using this kind of tool. So that, there is an area to explore here. I think that was the meaning of the question.
Let me give you an example. We work with Dassault Systèmes, so the master of 3D, so they're happy to have a 3D solution to have their events. And they gave us a model of a car drone, the taxi drones, and we couldn't use it, so we had to rebuild it to be in the Metaverse.
Yes, there's certainly compatibility of sources to build it in the Metaverse. Okay, so possible, but a little bit of work, that's the answer.
Specific work, yeah.
Okay. We've got a question in French now, so we'll switch to French. Quel impact environnemental du Metaverse? Je pense que ce qui est derrière cette question, c'est intuitivement, on voit bien que pour faire fonctionner ça, il faut beaucoup de serveurs, beaucoup d'équipements. Donc, quel impact environnemental du Metaverse qui serait lié à l'implémentation du Metaverse? Et puis une deuxième question dans la question, finalement, est-ce que c'est une vraie perspective ou est-ce que ce n'est pas uniquement un lobbying de Mark Zuckerberg en fait?
I will switch to English.
Yes, fine.
So the environmental impact of the Metaverse is a very nice question, in fact, because we're very good on that. Why? Because all the images are calculated locally, and the only information that goes through the internet is the voice. Okay. So we are less than 10 times lighter than a video conference using, all the Visio data. So it's at least 10 times better than all the Visio. We know right now that the use of internet is reaching 10% of the global GES, the global CO2 emissions. And in this number, it's over 80% that is with Visio. When I say Visio, it's YouTube, it's Netflix, it's YouPorn, and it's Teams, of course. But this is the main usage, and here we cut down this amount by 10.
Okay. So local calculation and only limited flux of information on internet. Okay. Next question is, by which means the twin of the real environment is created in the metaverse? How do you make it happen in the metaverse?
Yes. Well, one key is that we don't create an actual absolute digital twin, like we would in the industry, like we have in the past in the industry. Here we have what I could tell as Lego bricks that are, buildings that we can put in the metaverse very easily and that have a lot of personalization aspects, a lot of different looks, design looks, but the same functionalities. The idea is that at one point, every company will be able to create its own metaverse using these basic bricks, you see? From time to time, we do really specific environments. For example, this is a very beautiful new building. If you want to have the whole of this building in your metaverse, this is possible. With TF1, the French channel, we're doing a metaverse for Cannes that will happen in a Zeppelin. Okay. So it's not their office, but it's a nice Zeppelin, and it will fly over Cannes, you see.
Okay, good. Okay, next, there is a question which is what cannot be and what will never be in the metaverse? Is there anything that will never find its way in the metaverse?
A good wine? Good wine, I think. The pleasure of really being together. So the future I see is strengthening the local human relations, neighborhood, family, local relations, and enabling the distant relation that would be even either more professional or on other levels. But these ones will be kept in the metaverse.
Okay, I think there is a question in the audience. Time for the microphone to arrive. I will just ask the other one, and then it's over to you. There was, oh no, sorry, okay, it's okay. If it's okay, go ahead, Emmanuel, please.
Hello, I'll try in English because it's a complicated question in French. So in terms of mental health, how will we make compatible and not become schizophrenic, to have those both lives and one avatar and skip to real life? And that's the first question. And the second question I would have is related to our personal information. So in the enterprise, for example, the management or whoever would be tempted to look at other people without their authorization, or I don't know if I want to know what is doing someone somewhere. Do I have the right to see his avatar or not? Or? Yes.
Okay, so two questions. The first one I would say is the risk, you said, of schizophrenia. I think in terms of psychoscience, you certainly know we're all wearing masks and in our lives, and so when you come to the office, you're wearing your working mask. So this is just another mask, or I would say the same mask when you're in the corporate metaverse.
So not that one. You mean?
Yeah, no, I'm talking about psychological mask.
Okay.
So you're putting a costume in some ways. So that's already what we're doing all the time. The second question is about surveillance, or the feeling of being tracked all the time. And here you really have to think about the real world. So what is possible and authorized in the real world legally will be in the metaverse, and not more. You know, it's RGPD compliance and everything. But if you are working at your virtual desk, remember, you may be in Bahamas, in an island, but you're at your virtual desk. Well, if your boss comes by and see the team and see that 5 people are around here, it will be like in real life. What's the problem? He can talk to everyone saying, hey guys, and see that you were there, you see.
I take your point on the mask, on the mask. But coming back to the question, don't you think the mask we choose to have or not professionally in or out of the office is kind of our choice. It's influenced by the society. Here we are introducing a different tool which could emphasize that or make it stronger. And do you think there will be some specific attention to pay to people in the company to make sure that this goes well for them in terms of mental health?
Well, remember, our strong recommendation is to have an avatar that looks as much like you. That's the first point. But it reminds me of one of our associates, a known psychologist called Michael Stora, who is an expert in video games, addiction, and usage. He was a psychotherapist in Second Life. So he had about 100 patients there. And once he told me, he didn't express himself like a psychotherapist, so he told me, you know, the craziest ones, they were the animals. So in Second Life, you can have an avatar that looks like animals. So I say, oh yeah, really? Yeah. Beware of animals. Oh, okay. And then after another drink. And among these ones, the craziest ones were the rabbits. And I heard the fear in his voice. So yeah, well, if you look like yourself, I don't think there is schizophrenia involved, but if you start incarnating a rabbit in a corporate world, then...
No, I'm not sure I'm ready to work with rabbits, even if the virtual world. Anyway, I think that there was one question very much linked with Emmanuel's question about regulation. Is the regulation ready for the metaverse in France, in Europe, and worldwide? There are a couple of other examples which are quoted here, like intellectual property. How do we manage that in the metaverse? Risk of bullying and this kind of thing. That's
well, obviously not. Obviously not, and this is why the simplest way of seeing it is reproducing the real life rules. So in terms of IP, it's like on the internet, and this is why we talk a lot about NFT, non-fungible tokens, related to the metaverse. As you said, purchasing an item in the metaverse while you keep the IP. I was talking with the image fund of all the national museums in France, and they would be happy to sell their images through the metaverse. So there's no IP issue. The bullying issue, even sexual harassment, you can, most people smile when we talk about that, but in fact it already happened. And a couple months ago, I read this article from a journalist who felt sexually harassed in the metaverse. So that's quite amazing, that's quite early. But the thing is, with your avatar, you can be too close, you know, and follow the people, and sometimes even interpenetrate the other avatar. So you can create, because remember that the feeling of presence is very real. So you are there and you feel that the other people are there with you, and suddenly they start to behave strangely because she was a woman, you know. So that's definitely a risk, and we'll take this into account, you know, to when needed recreate a normal social distance, for example. Also because you can change your face. We had an event with Pôle emploi, the unemployment government agency. It was 15,000 people, and some of them took a Hitler face or Bin Laden face. And that was kind of harassment also. So we had to kick these ones out. No.
Okay, that's really interesting. That's kind of areas we don't really have in mind necessarily on the first thought. But then you're talking about kicking people out, producing rules, and there is a question here which asks us, who is in charge of defining those rules for the metaverse? Is there a government agency or European agency or something worldwide which is working on that?
Absolutely no one right now. I'm co-writing a tribune for political authorities to start creating a kind of authority for the metaverse. The thing is, like we've seen with Facebook, the power of Facebook is enormous. You know, 10 years ago, if one would have told you that the Russian could have a mad American president, namely Trump, elected thanks to Facebook, you wouldn't have believed that, you know, and that's pretty much what happened. And then when Trump was pushing on the Congress, you know, and having dead people, Facebook cut his access, you know, and that was also an excess in terms of power, you know, political power. So right now the power is in the hands of the social networks, I think, and it is already a problem.
That's already a debate in the society, I think. Yes, you're right. Question here is, next question is about how deep is the people interaction. How deep will the interaction with people possible in the metaverse? And what about the risk of virtual physical violence, which comes back to the point on harassment?
Yeah. So we've seen that just by behavior, you can have this feeling of harassment. That's for sure. Then right now, the interactions are still limited to mostly visual and sound interactions. But there are many, and I'm testing regularly, haptic you know, gloves or haptic suits that will make it even possible to have physical contact with people in the metaverse. But I'm pretty sure that they will limit it to a non-dangerous zone. So even if you get a punch in the metaverse, you won't bleed. Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got another type of question here, which is about investment in the metaverse. So you've quoted Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, but the question is, in France, who is investing in the metaverse? And abroad, who are the main investors in the metaverse?
Well, the GAFAM are right now the main investors. So even in France, you know, and Facebook said that they will spend $10 billion in Europe for the metaverse. So we're talking about more than 10,000 people working exclusively on this topic. Then more locally, the fashion industry is very interested. All the big corporation, you know, we're working with many big companies that are wishing to have their metaverse, and investors, because right now everyone, it's, as I said, a buzzword, so everyone wants to invest in it.
Okay. I think we have a question about the realistic aspect of the, of the metaverse, and how long until a photorealistic metaverse will be implemented?
So right now we are already working on a photorealistic metaverse. The avatars and the virtual environments is what we could say photorealistic. But the next stage is when it will be actual real images. And then it's not with the virtual reality headsets, not with the current augmented reality headset. It will be with the next generation. I'm hoping Apple will make announcements soon, and we believe by 2025 there will be small glasses like the one everyone can wear, that will be what we already call XR, X for extended reality. So it will be glasses, the computing power will be in your mobile phone, and these glasses will scan with cameras the local environment, and will add augmented reality, so digital information in your surrounding reality. But at will, it will be able to darken and to take you to the metaverse, to a virtual world. And why is it mixed and extended? It's because you will be able to keep some of the elements of the real world and come together, go together to the metaverse. Okay. So for example, if we both wear those glasses, we would still see ourselves, and we could teleport ourselves in a nuclear plant or in some more dreamy locations, or on Mars.
Okay, so I think it makes a good link with the next question, which is, could we imagine to work fully in the metaverse at all? Which means the company would be fully virtual, all the deliverables, all the work, the activities we're doing, our employment contract, the salary virtually paid, not virtually paid, but paid in virtual money, which is different, in metaverse instead of the real life. Do you think this could happen?
Yes.
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 Thank you.
Well, I had an interview with the future of the future jobs in the metaverse. So as soon as you have a whole economy in an environment, you can have people working 100% in this environment. So, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that's part of a possible future that you're describing.
Yes.
Well, quite a techie question here. Can technologies like used in Neuralink be used for the metaverse?
Yes, so Neuralink, I believe, is the company created by my friend from neuroscience, Normal Sup Ulm, okay. That enables with simple, EEG, electroencephalogram technology, enables to read your electric impulses in your brain to actually decide or create actions in the metaverse. So definitely, yeah. At one point, you can have a small cap, very easy to put, and move to one place, or to sit down on a chair, or talk to someone just because you thought about it. Like you would in the real life. In the real life, when you move from point A to point B, you don't actually decide consciously to say, okay, I need to go there. No, you just go. Okay.
There's a question about identification within the metaverse. Will your avatar be linked to a real authorized and identified ID, identification of people, or is it necessarily always anonymous at this stage? And the question behind that is, would it be possible to investigate potential misbehavior? You took the example of Hitler picture. There may be some other things like that. So is there a link between the connection and the ID, or is it necessarily anonymous? In fact?
Well, it's definitely not necessarily anonymous. There are a range of anonymity and to full identity possible. I would say like on the internet. On the internet, you can use special sites to make yourself anonymous. And this will also be possible in some metaverses. For example, in a corporate metaverse, you don't want anyone to be anonymous. When you have a desk, the entrance desk, the goal is to make sure that the person there is really the person coming there, you know. And so range from full anonymity to full proven ID. And that's one of my recommendations. You know, there is this service in France called Digital Identity or France Connect. And my idea is that they will be able to actually acknowledge that this avatar is driven by you. Yeah. It's particularly important in the near future. We are opening a great metaverse in the education world. So in September, we could welcome as many as 180,000 students in the metaverse. And in a time, they will be able to have their exams. So we will have to make sure that they are the real students, you know.
Okay, clear. So I think we've time for a very last question for this slot. So the last question, which I will read in French to really keep the meaning of the question. Certains handicaps empêchent de s'immerger dans le métaverse. Les handicaps visuels notamment. Ces particularités ont-elles été prises en compte dans le métaverse?
So another very good question. In terms of inclusiveness, we are also working with a IL avatar, in a non-gender specific avatar. And in terms of handicap right now, and especially with the students, we are wondering whether we should have a wheeling chair, for example, in the metaverse, possibility of moving with a wheeling chair. So that's the other way around. That's how do we integrate handicap in the metaverse. Now, how do we make it accessible for handicapped people? So for motor handicap, all our commands are also used with the keyboard. So the motor handicapped people have no problem using the metaverse. For the deaf or impairing people, we have subtitles. So the most difficult question was the one that was asked is the question with the blind people, because here it needs a lot of audio description, and right now we don't know how to do it on the fly with an AI. So right now it's a difficulty for them, but in the future I'm sure that there will be AI able to describe the surrounding environment for blind people.
Okay, very good. So thank you very much. I think we've reached the end of our conference and slot on the metaverse. So Clement, thank you very much for your time with us and for this very valuable discussion and for having taken the questions live with us today. Thanks again for that. Now, I just wish you a very good day for this Innov'Day. Enjoy your time, take your time, enjoy your time for innovation today. And now it's time for the first workshop on Teams, and that will be with Estelle Sauvage. Thank you very much.